Improvement. So let us look at the two important thinkers that we have to discuss. One is Peter Drucker and the other one is Dwight Wilder. Let us start with Peter Drucker. What he has to say. Peter Drucker. He was also part of participative management thinkers. Part of participative management thinkers. And is famous for his theory management by objectives, MBO. He is famous for his MBO, management by objectives. So let us look at what he has to say. Peter Drucker was critical of American polity and American administration. He was critical of American polity and American administration. As we have discussed, America has also representative democracy and Weberian bureaucracy. It also has representative democracy and Weberian bureaucracy. He was critical of both representative democracy and Weberian bureaucracy. Drucker was critical of both representative democracy and Weberian bureaucracy. Why? He said that politicians, they never want any kind of accountability for their actions. That's what he would say. Politicians never want any kind of accountability for their actions. Politicians never wanted any kind of accountability for their actions. And what kind of accountability exists in the representative democracy? The accountability is only in the form of elections. It is only in the form of elections. In the form of elections. Elections. And what do? These politicians, they make promises. Politicians, they make promises in a vague manner. VAGE, vague manner, wherein it is almost impossible to fix accountability. It is almost impossible to fix accountability. That is their promises are mostly qualitative in nature. Their promises are mostly qualitative in nature. It cannot be quantified. It cannot be quantified. That is what he said about democracy in America. Whichever political party, Democrats or Republicans, that's what he said. Whether they are Democrats or whether they are Republicans. What they do, according to Peter Drucker, is that they only make promises which are mostly what we call, which are mostly very vague promises. For example, maximizing happiness for all, maximizing welfare of all. How do we define, how do we quantify these promises? How do we quantify these promises? You can take the elections also. They will say that we want to ensure safety and security of everyone. We want to maximize welfare of everyone. But how do you quantify? Housing for all. What kind of houses you are going to build? Will it be the same kind of houses that the politicians stay? That is what Peter Drucker has said. He was critical of American democracy. Why? Because whatever may be the political party they belong to, they always come out with the promises which can never be quantified, so that there cannot be any accountability in the end. There is no accountability. At the end of the day, there is no accountability. They always get away with all kinds of promises. And when it comes to bureaucracy, what about bureaucracy? He said that bureaucracy is not directly accountable to the people. Bureaucrats are not directly accountable to people. There is no direct accountability of bureaucracy towards citizens. And they are more interested in their perks and positions, rights and immunities. They are more interested in their perks, positions, rights and immunities. That is what he said. As we studied, they are only utility maximizers. They only believe in maximizing their satisfaction. Utility maximizers. So that is when Peter Drucker has said that we must reform both democracy and bureaucracy. We must reform both democracy and bureaucracy. How this can be done? What should be done? As we say, participation of citizens ends with voting in elections. Participation of citizens ends with voting in elections. Participation of citizens ends with voting in elections. Then what else did he say? He was critical of classical thinkers. Peter Drucker was critical of classical thinkers. What is the criticism that he has made of classical thinkers here? He was critical of classical thinkers. What is the criticism? He said that classical theories have failed. Classical thinkers and classical theories have failed because of principles of ordination. Because of the principles of ordination. What is the criticism that we are talking about here? He said that these principles of ordination, restricted the freedom, independence, creativity. They restricted the freedom, independence, creativity, innovation and initiative on the part of people. Initiative and innovation on the part of workers. These classical principles. Because these principles emphasized on what the workers should do within the organizations. They emphasized on what the workers should do within the organizations. What the workers should do within the organizations. What they should do within organization. That is what we said. One best way of performing the task. One best way of performing the task. And that is the reason why organizations have failed to utilize. That's the reason why they have failed to utilize. They have failed to utilize the capabilities of workers. They have failed to utilize the capabilities of workers, especially those who are at medium and lower levels. those who are at medium and lower levels. Those who are at medium and lower levels. Same thing that we have discussed with other thinkers also, participative management, especially those who are at medium and lower levels. Then what is the solution? Peter Drucker has said that the solution lies in participative management. The solution lies in participative management. What is this? He said that the principles of ordination. He said that these principles of ordination should only focus on. They should only focus on what workers cannot do within the ordination. What workers should not do. What workers cannot do within the ordination. What they cannot do within the ordination. That is, they should not indulge in conflict with others. They should not indulge in conflict with others. They should not be indisciplined within the ordination. They should not work against the interests of ordination. They should not work against the interests of ordination. And so on. The interests of ordination. Interests of ordination and so on. On the other hand, workers should be given complete freedom. They should be given complete freedom. They should be given complete freedom to perform the tasks, to perform the activities. And they can be made accountable to the management for their performance. Right, that is what he had come out with the concept MBO, management by objectives. He had come out with the concept MBO, management by objectives. To explain his concept of participative management. He believed that managers are made and not born. Managers are made but not born. That is, managerial qualities can be learnt and can be taught in a classroom. He had written the book, The Practice of Management. The Practice of Management. Top level management must involve people at middle and lower levels. They must involve people at middle and lower levels. They must involve people at middle and lower levels to formulate objectives and plans of organizations. That is, they should be allowed to participate in deciding the objectives of our nation. Once objectives are defined, workers can be given complete freedom. Workers can be given complete freedom to achieve those objectives. The role of management. The role of management is restricted to motivating the employees to maximize their performance. Once objectives are decided, workers can decide how they are going to realize those objectives. And they can be made accountable for their performance. They can be made accountable for their performance. Peter Drucker believed in self-control. Self-control of employees. Twenty-first century organizations will be characterized by MBO, management by objectives. They are knowledge-based organizations. And the top level management should focus on achievement motivation of employees. Peter Drucker, he identified 6 factors. That determine the productivity of knowledge workers. First, the tasks to be performed. Second, responsibility and autonomy. Third, continuous innovation. Then continuous learning. and quality of output. Quality of output. So these are all the factors that would decide the productivity of workers. So this is what we say broadly the Peter Drucker's participative management theory. As you can see here, it is same as all the other thinkers that we have spoken about, where it is Douglas McGregor or Francis Likert or Chris Argyris. So what is their basic contention? In classical organizations, there is no opportunity for the people working at all levels to display their skills, talent and knowledge. And these classical theories are more useful for organizations when the situation outside the organization was completely different, wherein people were looking to satisfy their basic needs. They were poor, backward and illiterate. Now, with second and third generation of workers entering into the organizations, their basic needs are satisfied, and when they enter into organizations, they are looking to satisfy higher level needs. They want to contribute more towards the organization. They have self-control, and they know their responsibilities, and they are always motivated by achievements, rewards, and recognition. So, organizations, what should they do? They should give more opportunities for the people to decide what to do, how to do, and when to do. Give them more autonomy and fix accountability. That is what we studied as part of theory Y, or maturity theory, or a system 4 of Francis Likert. That is what we said. The same thing Peter Drucker has said, and he has explained with the help of what we call the principles of ordination. Classical theories have failed because these principles of ordination have only emphasized on what the workers should do at the workplace through one best way of performing the task. In the process, they have taken away the freedom, creativity, independence, initiative of workers. So what Peter Drucker has said is that these principles of ordination should not focus on what the workers should do or can do within the organization. They should only focus on what they should not do within the organization. What they can do can be decided by the workers because they have self-control. As you can see, all of them are influenced by same Mary Parker Foley, right? And that is what he said that the workers should be given freedom. And he rightly predicted that 21st century organizations will be knowledge-based organizations. That is what we see now also. Service sector is dominating, wherein people working in the organization cannot be seen as expenditure, they should be seen as assets, human resources. So instead of treating them as school children, give them freedom, give them independence, and give them more responsibilities. And these are the factors that would define the efficiency of workers in the organization. Have what we call proper reward and the recognition mechanism within the organization. Achievement motivation, give them difficult tasks and make them come out with innovations, and also reward them when they come out with innovations. That is what Peter Drucker has said. That is the reason why he said that top level management, what should they do? They should involve the people at middle and lower levels in formulating the objectives and take into consideration their problems, their challenges, and their limitations and their abilities. And then once these objectives are decided, top level management should only focus on guiding them by delegating the functions to them, by increasing their achievement motivation levels. And once this is done, they also must fix accountability in terms of a reward system, performance, objective performance evaluation system. That is what almost every other thinker also has said. So this is what is called Peter Drucker's participative management theory. Is there anything new that we have studied? No. Right? Let us see criticism. That is what we say criticism. Right? First and foremost, critics have said that Peter Drucker has not said anything new. He has not said anything new. He was just only repeating. He was only repeating what previous thinkers of participative management have explained. What previous thinkers of participative management have explained. His management objective. his management by objectives MBO is similar to Douglas McGregor's theory Y, is similar to Douglas McGregor's theory Y, or Rensis Likert system 4, or Chris Argyris maturity theory. Next, there is no empirical validity to his participative management MBO. There is no empirical validity. Next, application of MBO within the government can be difficult and complicated task. Application of MBO within the government can be a difficult and a complicated task. It can be a difficult and complicated task. It can be applied in small organizations. It can be applied in small organizations. But within the government, it is almost impossible. Next, there is no theoretical foundation to MBO. There is no theoretical foundations to MBO. Next, Peter Drucker's criticism of government was also not fair. His criticism of government is also not fair. Government has to take into consideration multiple dimensions while formulating policies. A market-based approach to governance can have many limitations. That is what we said, new public management. Market-based approach to governance can have many limitations. Right? That is what we say about criticism. This is same as all the other thinkers that we have said. Right? Can we have this market-based approach to governance, cost-benefit analysis? Obviously, we cannot have. As usual, contribution of Drucker. What is the contribution of Peter Drucker? What is the contribution of Peter Drucker? His concepts like mission orientation, privatization, decentralization, and MBO, management by objectives, are extremely useful. They are extremely useful in improving efficiency of administration. They are necessary for developing countries like India. They are necessary for developing countries like India, wherein resource utilization, or you can say optimum resource utilization, is a major issue. Optimum resource utilization is a major issue. Right? That is what we say here. I said it is almost same as what all the thinkers have, mentioned all these thinkers. So this is about Peter Drucker. The only thing that we have to remember here is that he said that classical theories have failed because the principles of ordination focused on what the workers should do within the ordination. In the process, they have taken away their creativity, freedom, innovation, independence, and participation. And that is why he said that the principles of ordination should only focus on what workers cannot do within the ordination. What they can do be decided by the workers themselves because they are intelligent, capable, and responsible. That is what he said. So this is about participative management and Peter Drucker. Let us move on to the next thinker, Dwight Waldo. Dwight, D-W-I-G-H-T, Dwight Waldo, W-A-L-D-O. We have seen him already as part of a new public administration. Let us see what is the contribution of Waldo. Let us look at what is the contribution of Waldo. Waldo was known for his ideas regarding new public administration. He had written the book The Administrative State, then The Study of Public Administration, Bureaucracy and Democracy, and Hypocrisy. Bureaucracy, democracy, and hypocrisy, so on and so forth. Right. Let us see what are Waldo's ideas. Again, as I said, we have discussed all these things, we are repeating them. Because we have a lot of free time. Right? Otherwise, we can complete the entire syllabus of public administration in 2 days. Right? Everything is same. We can complete it in 2 days. Then after 2 days, I will become unemployed. So I have to tell you that it is a big subject with a vast amount of contribution by various thinkers. If I don't say that, why will you attend classes? Right? It is in our vested interest to say that they are all difficult. The same thing that you find in your general studies preparation also. When you attend your general studies classes, they tell you that you are doing 10 PhDs, PhD in history, economics, international relations, polity, and ethics. Unless we say those things, it will be difficult for you innocent people to be attracted. Right? So don't ask me these innocent questions. Right? We have already reached the end of our classes. Still, innocence is still there. As I keep on saying, I can tolerate any amount of ignorance, but not innocence. It is only Rahul Gandhi who has the exclusive privilege to say that he is innocent. Right? So let us look at what Dwight Waldo has said. Right? Dwight Waldo is known for his administration as a politics approach. Administration as a politics approach. He was extremely critical of a classical approach to public administration. He was extremely critical of classical approach to public administration, which is based on what? Politics administration dichotomy. The entire classical approach is based on politics administration dichotomy. Entire classical theory is based on politics administration dichotomy. Right? So let us see what he has to say. He said that administration is both art as well as a science. He said that administration is both art as well as a science. And he said that in fact it is more of an art than a science. Classical thinkers called it as a science of administration. He said that it is more of an art than a science. And he said that public administration is different from private administration. Public administration is different from private administration. What did classical thinkers say? There is no difference between public and private administration. Henry Fayol, he said that there is no difference between public and private organization because they perform similar activities. Why public administration is different from private administration, according to Wilder? He said that it is different from private administration because political environment dominates public administration. That is what he said. That is the reason why they are different. As we said, as Paul Appleby also has said, political context. So what he said is that instead of artificially dividing politics and administration, we must find ways to integrate politics and administration. We must find ways to integrate politics and administration. Then what did he say? He said that Wilder had come out with four important ideas. What are they? First, there is an intrinsic tension between democracy and bureaucracy. There is an intrinsic tension conflict between democracy and bureaucracy. That obliges the bureaucracy, OBLIGES, bureaucracy to protect democratic principles. Democratic principles. Second, he rejected politics administration dichotomy. That is, administrators are responsible for many other activities than merely implementing policy decisions. Next, third important one identified by Peter Drucker. Administrators must give importance to efficiency concerns of organizations. That is, scientific management principles, with due processes. That is scientific management principles with the due processes. And also ensure public access to government. Public access to government. Fourth one identified by Waldo is administration is not a business. Government cannot be run like a business organization. Government cannot be run like a business organization. It cannot be run like a business organization. Administration must focus on democratic principles, and give importance to equity concerns. Give importance to equity concerns. So this is what Peter Drucker, this is what normally we have studied as part of new public administration also. So what Peter Drucker was trying to say here is that Dwight Waldo, what he is trying to say here is that this classical approach to the study of a public administration is wrong. What is this classical approach? It is based on politics administration dichotomy. Administration should only focus on aspects related to economy and efficiency. Administration should only give importance to efficiency, rationality. Administration must cut itself from outside world. That is, they should not have any kind of contact with either ordinary people or political executive. And administration is also a science with emphasis on rationality. And administration, according to classical thinkers, should always focus on scientific management of organizations. That is what classical theories have said. Administration is a science. It can become truly a science of administration also with these principles and theories. Administrators should never involve themselves with aspects which are strictly in the domain of political executive. That is why what Woodrow Wilson has said, administration is like a business and should be run like a business organization. That is what these classical thinkers have said. And this was strongly objected to by Peter Drucker. He has written this book called Administrative State, wherein he rejected all these ideas given by classical thinkers. All these ideas, he said, were completely wrong. He said that public administration is both art as well as a science. And it is more of an art than a science. Because these scientific management principles which made the discipline science are only a small part of the discipline of public administration. Public administration cannot restrict itself only to economy and efficiency concerns. It should always focus on equity and democratic participation. Administrators always have this obligation to work with political executive. They cannot just wish away politics. They should always work in an environment which is dominated by political executive. They must give importance to democratic processes. They must give importance to the participation of stakeholders in governance. They cannot adopt what is called a non-ecological approach, closed systems approach. They cannot be blind to rules and regulations. They must focus on outputs and outcomes. They must always work towards realizing the objectives of Constitution, the ideals of Constitution. And that is the reason why he rejected all the classical theories and principles, wherein the Weberian bureaucracy only focuses on implementation aspects. And in implementation also they only focus on strictly implementing the rules and regulations and economy and efficiency. They don't give importance to outputs or outcomes. They don't give importance to qualitative aspects of governance. They don't give importance to either inclusiveness or equity. They don't give importance to democratic administration. They don't give importance to bringing about socio-economic transformation. And that is the reason why Dwight Waldo has said that this classical traditional public administration has been a failure. That is what we studied in new public administration. Dwight Waldo was the president of this first Minnowbrook conference, when young scholars of public administration have gathered in Minnowbrook to discuss about the future of the discipline of public administration. And that was the reason why he was very, very critical of classical theories and classical principles and classical assumptions. That is what he said. He said that there is always inherent conflict, inherent tension that exists within bureaucracy, because they not only have to follow the rules and regulations, they must also ensure democratic processes. They must give importance to political aspects of governance. They cannot simply become blind to politics. They cannot simply live in what we call a completely closed environment, because they are not instruments. They are human beings. That is what he said. Right. Let us see what else he has spoken about. What are the other ideas of Dwight Waldo? Yes.
We have written third one, scientific management principles with due process.
Yes. You have to implement scientific management principles, and at the same time, you should also give respect to the government processes and government procedures.
Second point also, we have started the public administration as discipline by taking into consideration politics, administration, dichotomy. So now he's rejecting the fact which started the discipline of public
Yes.
administration. So this is something.
Yeah, why? Because if you look at it, all the classical thinkers and theorists, they have only focused on one thing, that is, politics, administration dichotomy, and they said that administration is a universal discipline which can be applied to both public and private organizations. Why? Because public organizations also should function like private organizations by emphasizing on a business-like approach, only focusing on economy and efficiency and rationality. And this is what that was rejected by Dwight Waldo. That is why he said that we need values. And that is where we talk about the phenomenological approach also towards public administration. We'll talk about it a little bit later. Right. Let us look at what are the other ideas of Waldo. What Waldo has said is that administration as an activity is as old as the civilization itself. Is as old as the civilization itself. Right? Then he said that politics administration dichotomy was advocated initially to improve efficiency of administration. And he said that there are so many approaches that defined public administration. There are so many perspectives and approaches that define public administration, wherein classical approach is one of them. Classical approach is one of them. A classical approach was the outcome of situations prevailing at that particular point of time. In United States of America. Classical approach was classical approach was the outcome of civil services reform movement. Civil services reform movement in United States of America, because the functioning of civil services was characterized by inefficiency, nepotism, favoritism, and so on. Waldo identified five different characteristics of classical approach. He identified five features or characteristics of classical approach. First, politics administration dichotomy. First one is politics administration dichotomy. Second, a generic management orientation. Generic management orientation. Third, search for principles of organization. Search, SEARC, search for principles of organization through scientific analysis. Fourth, emphasis on centralization of bureaucracy. And a commitment to democracy. Commitment to democracy. These are the features of a classical approach according to Dwight Waldo. All of them we have seen. For example, politics administration dichotomy. As I said, this classical approach had come into existence because of the conditions prevailing in United States of America. What were the conditions? In United States of America, they had what is called a spoils system, wherein bureaucracy functioning was characterized by nepotism and favoritism, inefficiency, and lack of accountability. Lack of accountability because spoils system. So what is the solution? Have an administrative system which is based on rationality and efficiency and accountability. That is what Dwight Waldo has said. Waldo was basically what you call public administration historian. That means he was only in a creating or formulating the chronology of a public administration, the discipline of public administration. That's what we have said. This administration as an activity is as old as the civilization itself. Since the beginning of civilization, administration and civilization are an integral part. They are mutually reinforcing each other. It is the civilization that made administration efficient, and it is the administration that made civilization more developed also, mutually reinforcing. Right? As we have said, in the beginning itself, human beings have realized the fact that it is not possible for them to live all alone. Human beings, we are not independent. We cannot live all alone. Please remember, the same thing was asked this year as your essay also, general essay. Right? we have realized the fact that we cannot live all alone by ourselves. As we said, we don't find these kind of things in other animal kingdoms. As we said in our first classes also, beginning classes also, we don't have any engineers or doctors in dogs, right? Do you have any dog engineer and dog doctor or dog prime minister? No. But our engineers and doctors can be. I did not say anything. Some of you have done engineering also, right? Because dogs also have self-esteem. You cannot compare them, right? They will file unnecessarily PIL against me, right? So that is what so that is what Dwight Wilder also has said. As a public administration historian, he had seen the development of public administration as an activity, then as an academic discipline also. As an activity, administration and civilization, both of them are reinforcing each other. An efficient administration is necessary for advanced civilization. Similarly, an advanced civilization is a must for an efficient administration. That is what Peter Drucker has said. That is the reason why both of them always go together. And then what happened as we studied this academic discipline of public administration had its origins in United States of America because of the specific circumstances under which America was experiencing at that point of time. Because America had become a developed country, but the administrative system was not fully developed. It was still focused on what is called spoils system, wherein the administrators were more concerned about their loyalty to the chief executive than ensuring their accountability towards the citizens. They never gave importance to aspects related to economy and efficiency. And they were recruited only on the basis of their proximity to the chief executive. That is when Peter Drucker has said, Dwight Wilder has said that we have seen the emergence of classical theories. These classical theories wanted to make bureaucracy efficient in America. How to make bureaucracy efficient in America? They had come out with this classical approach. What are the important features? As I said, first one is politics administration dichotomy. That is the starting point of all the classical theories, wherein the administrators are permanent executive. They are recruited on the basis of merit. They have to function on the basis of rationality. They must focus on economy and efficiency, and they should restrict themselves to only implementational aspects. Whereas the political executive is responsible for policy formulation, they will take into consideration values, and they have control over bureaucracy. This politics administration dichotomy is the central aspect of classical theories. And then what are the other important features that Peter Drucker had spoken about here? And as we have said that they focused on this generic administration. Generic administrative theory means, generic means general, which is applicable to both public and private organizations. So because classical thinkers believe that these public and private organizations perform similar activities. They perform similar activities. If you remember, this is what Henry Fayol also has said. They perform 6 different kinds of activities which are quite similar. And that is the reason why Henry Fayol and other classical thinkers thought that these principles of organization are universal, which can be applied to both public and private organizations. And of course, the entire focus of classical thinkers is to formulate a science of administration. And this science of administration is possible only when you have universal theories and principles. That is what Dwight Wilder also has said. Next thing he said is that classical theories, what we have is centralization of power. Everywhere you find only centralization of power and top-down approach. In Taylor's scientific management theory, the one best way of performing the task will be decided by the managers, and the workers are expected to strictly implement the one best way of performing the task. Similarly, in Max Weber's bureaucratic theory of organization, hierarchy will ensure that there will always be centralization of power. And of course, the final thing, as we have said, is democratic accountability. Why? Because in spoils system there is no accountability. And how this accountability is ensured? How this accountability is ensured in terms of implementation of policies. That is what Dwight Waldo had said. This approach dominated public administration till 1940s. That is what he said. This classical approach dominated public administration till 1940s. Let us see what was the criticism of Waldo against this classical approach. What is the criticism of this classical approach? What is the criticism of a classical approach? He said that classical theories have a rationalist bias. A rationalist bias. Classical theories were, only focusing on the so-called concept of rationality. They have rationalist bias, which is defined in terms of value neutrality. Which is defined in terms of value neutrality. They have rationalist bias. Waldo criticized Max Weber. Waldo criticized Max Weber because Weber emphasized on rationality of bureaucracy. Rationality of bureaucracy, and ignored informal and emotional social aspects of our nations. Emotional and social aspects of our nations. Importance was given to knowledge. Importance was given to knowledge. More importance was given to knowledge than values. And he scolded classical thinkers for their scientific pretensions. And these principles are nothing but extension of a common sense. After studying for two months, if we say that they're nothing but extension of common sense, you are looking to take revenge against me, right? But that is what we said. That is what Herbert Simon also has said. These principles of our nation are nothing but mere proverbs, which are based on the experience of old men, right? What did Taylor say? You must manage our nations in a scientific manner. That is what everyone knows, right? Is there anything that is new? You must ensure that there is economic efficiency in our nation, which again everyone knows. You must reduce cost of production, and you must divide the work on a scientific basis, and ensure coordination between the people. Is there any principle here? Right? That is what Peter Drucker also has said. Sorry, Dwight Waldo also has said. Waldo advocated phenomenological approach to the study of public administration. PHENO. phenomenological approach. MENOLOGICAL, phenomenological approach to the study of public administration. That is, rather than making assumptions about the situations, in brackets, rational human behavior, rather than making assumptions about situations, in brackets, rational human behavior, organization should be studied as and when they function in a real time what we are saying is that classical thinkers, what they have done, they have made assumptions about human behavior, how they behave in a real life situation. On the basis of that, they had come out with their theories. This was rejected by Dwight Waldo. Phenomenological approach has come from the word phenomena. Phenomena means an event that is taking place in front of you. Real event that is taking place. Try to study the event that is taking place in front of you rather than making assumptions about the behavior of the people in a particular situation. Are you getting the point here? Yes? What classical thinkers have done is that they made assumptions about the behavior of people in a particular situation and generalized all those assumptions, saying that people always behave rationally. On the basis of that, they had come out with their theories. Right? That is the reason why they are a failure. As we keep on saying, why classical theories are always a failure? Because they made this assumption of rationality. And you have not seen what the real situation is, and you made assumptions about the real situation and come out with a theory. Obviously, those theories are going to be a failure. That is the reason why what Dwight Waldo has said is that let us change the way we study organizations and administration. Rather than making unrealistic assumptions about the behavior of people in a particular situation and generalizing them to everyone, let us see what people are doing in a particular situation. In reality, what they are doing. Observe what they are doing. On the basis of that, you come out with a theory. Phenomenological approach. Phenomena. Analyze the real-time phenomena and real-time events, real-time situations, and come out with a theory. And how do people behave? Are they rational all the time? No. Then they are always guided by their emotions and values. That is what we said. Can we ever be completely rational? Yes, we can never be completely rational. At least sometimes men can be rational. That is what we said. Right? That is the reason why Herbert Simon spoke about administrative man. He never said administrative. I did not say anything. Right? He said that economic man. Right? Did he say economic woman? Yes, women are economic. Right? That is what I gave you the example. In America, maximum number of billionaires are women billionaires. How? Economic rational. Right? That is what. Right? You marry a rich person and after that give divorce, take 50% of property and marry another person. That is how. Look at, I think Amazon, yeah, he also, and same is the case with Elon Musk also, I think, and of course, our good old Bill Gates also. Right? What is common to all of them? Women are more rational than men. Right? Yes? This is based on what we call phenomenological approach, observing the real life situations. Right? That is what we say. And that is what exactly Dwight Waldo has said. He rejected this normative approach of classical thinkers. That is what he write. He rejected normative approach of classical thinkers, wherein they made assumptions about human behavior. He made yes. He rejected normative approach of classical thinkers. He argued that Waldo argued that public administration must deal with thinking and give importance to human beings. Give importance to human beings than focusing on administrative techniques and principles. Than focusing on administrative techniques and principles. Values cannot be treated scientifically. Values cannot be treated scientifically. Emphasis on principles means converting human beings into machines. At the same time, Waldo believed that there are some principles which are based on common sense, which can be called principles. Then he criticized the emphasis of classical thinkers on efficiency. But maintains that efficiency is also based on moral values. Efficiency is also based on moral values. He was against technical efficiency. He was against technical efficiency of classical thinkers. And was in favor of social efficiency. He was in favor of social efficiency. So what we are saying here, so as part of phenomenological approach to the study of public administration, Waldo has said that administration cannot and should not be completely value neutral. It cannot be normative, because at the end of the day, administration deals with human problems and human beings, and values always become an integral part of administration. And he said that efficiency of classical thinkers is wrong because classical thinkers focused only on what we call technical efficiency. Please remember, the same thing was asked as essay topic this year. Rationality itself is the best value. Please remember, all these thinkers are very, very important from your essay's point of view. As we keep on saying, what is the best value that we can ever have? Rationality. Rationality is the best value which classical thinkers emphasized. But classical thinkers emphasized only on economic rationality. That is where Waldo found fault with them. Right? What is rationality? What is rationality? The rationality means selecting the right kind of instruments to achieve your desired objectives. What is a rational human behavior? If you go through these, some of the philosophers, I don't know whether you have studied in your ethics paper or not. Aristotle also spoke about the same thing. If you have studied, that is what Aristotle also has said. He said that that is what Gautam Buddha has said, middle path. Right? That is what Aristotle also has spoken about. What do we mean by rational? Realizing the fact that as human beings, we are dependent on others for our survival. If others want to, if you expect others to come and help you, what should you do? If you expect others to come to your rescue, to help you, to save you from your problems, what should you do? We should also the same thing. But that is what two topics of essay that they have asked this year. Interdependence. Right? You cannot just only have one way street wherein you always take help from others, but you don't want to help others. We must recognize this interdependency. And that is what thinkers like Dwight Waldo also have said. In classical organizations, what happens? In classical organizations, organization expects everything from the workers in the name of efficiency and rationality. Are they willing to give anything to workers? Not at all. That is the reason why they are a failure. Take into consideration the workers' demands, their needs, their problems, their the desires. Then take into consideration the values. Automatically, what is called social efficiency is achieved. Classical organizations have failed because they only focused on technical efficiency. And that is what we have discussed again. Development is a multidimensional concept. It is not only about economic growth. What really matters is the quality of development. What is the problem with the present development growth model in India? Unfortunately, the government gives only importance to quantitative aspects of development in the form of GDP growth rate. The government says that we are achieving 9% GDP growth rate. So what? How does it really matter? If, as the recent Oxfam report and other reports have mentioned, 84% of the people during these 2 years of corona pandemic have lost 50% of their income. And at least 40 crores people went below poverty line. On the other hand, top 100 billionaires in the country, their incomes have doubled. That is what we say. That is what exactly Dwight Waldo had spoken about. He said that give importance to social efficiency than technical efficiency. Rationality and efficiency can still be the most important values. But how do you interpret them? How do you analyze them? How do you decipher them is what that really makes organization and administration efficient in the long term. As long as administration is giving importance only to the technical aspects of efficiency in terms of profit maximization, in terms of implementation of rules and regulations, in terms of strict and rigid hierarchy and principles of our nation, administration can never be an effective instrument. Why? Because then you are converting people into machines. And administration can and should never have this kind of rationality and efficiency. And that is the reason why he advocated this phenomenological approach to the study of public administration, wherein public administration should always be studied from value-based perspective, from ethical point of view, from moral perspective. That is what Waldo has said. He rejected this normative approach adopted by classical thinkers with the focus on technical aspects of efficiency. He said that efficiency itself is a value provided how you define efficiency. Social equity is more important than economic efficiency. Why? Because as we have said, interdependency of people. For example, in the name of economic growth, when rich people are becoming richer and poor people are poorer, obviously this kind of growth cannot be sustained in the long term. Similarly, within the organizations, only management is benefiting at the cost of the people. Again, those organizations cannot survive, because you must take into consideration human side of the organization. The management must take into consideration the emotions, sentiments, and values of people working in the organization. You cannot treat them as machines by thinking that they are only motivated by money. That is what Dwight Waldo had to say. Proceeding further, let us see. Right. He was critical of a politics administration dichotomy. He was critical of politics administration dichotomy. The dichotomy was intended to resolve conflict between the conflict between bureaucracy and democracy. But it created more problems than providing any solutions. It created more problems than providing solutions. For classical thinkers, democracy is peripheral to the concerns of administration. Peripheral to the concerns of administration and hostile to hostile to the central principle of efficiency. Central principle of efficiency. Right? So, what are we saying here? As we keep on saying, this politics administration dichotomy was given by the classical thinkers to find solutions to the problems of democracy and bureaucracy. They said that democracy will take into consideration values and bureaucracy must only restrict itself to efficiency concerns. That is what we said. Political executive is responsible for formulating policies, and while formulating policies they should only take into consideration values. They will take into consideration. Whereas bureaucracy is responsible for only implementation. For them, more than democracy, what is important is efficiency. That is what the classical theories, and this was rejected by Waldo. He rejected this politics administration dichotomy. Then next, let us see according to Waldo, development of organization theory can be seen through three different stages. As I said, he was a public administration historian. Development of organizational theory can be seen through three different stages. Three different stages. First one is classical period, which is based on machine model of organization. Which is based on machine model of organization and emphasized on rational aspects of human behavior. This stage reached its zenith, ZGNITH. This stage reached its zenith, ZGNITH. What do you mean by zenith? Yes, peak. It has reached top charts of its popularity with the publication of papers on the science of administration. With the publication of papers on the science of administration by who has published these papers? Gulick and Ervik. The second stage is the neoclassical approach. This emphasized on socio-psychological aspects of human behavior. Socio-psychological aspects of human behavior. The third stage is modern organization theory. That started with the publication of March and Simons, MARCH, March and Simons organizations, Herbert Simon and March organizations in 1958. It emphasized on organic or natural systems of organizations. It is less reliant on hierarchical controls, reliant on hierarchical controls, more recognized sources of authority, greater opportunities for personal mobility, and greater receptivity to organizational change. Greater receptivity to organizational change. It is decidedly behavioral in orientation. It is decidedly behavioral in orientation. Adopting the methods of physical and biological sciences. The methods of physical and biological sciences and seeking a value-free general theory of organization. Value-free general theory of organization. Value-free general theory of organization. So what we are saying here is that according to Dwight Waldo, he could see three different stages in the evolutions in the evolution of the discipline of public administration. First stage, as we know, is dominated by classical thinkers who defined organization in mechanistic terms with emphasis on rationality of human behavior. The second stage is dominated by neoclassical thinkers with emphasis on social and psychological aspects of organization. The third stage is what he called it as modern theories, wherein they are less there is less reliance on hierarchy, like what we find in classical theories. That is what we discussed. Now, Simon and March have published this book, Organizations, wherein they spoke about the situational or contingencies. There is no universal hierarchy or universal principles. They gave importance to what is called individuals' behavior in organizations, and they also have recognized more sources of authority within organization depending on the situation. That is what we studied. Law of the depending on situation, you can have different types of authority. And of course, they also focus on value-free general theory of public administration. Right? Behavioralism is based on empiricism. That is what we said. Next, proceeding. Another major feature of a contemporary public administration, next, right, another major feature of contemporary public administration is the emergence of CPA. It is the emergence of CPA, that is comparative public administration. It CPA resembles both modern organization theory. It resembles both modern organizational theory and also differs from it. What do we mean by that? Comparative public administration resembles modern organization theory and also has differences from it. Let us see what are they. All of them were asked as questions in our public administration. So what are the similarities between modern organization theory and CPA? What are the similarities between modern organizational theory and CPA? What are the similarities? First, a concern for methodological problems. Concern for methodological problems. Second, reliance on systems framework. Reliance on systems framework. Third, emphasis on structural functionalism. Structural functionalism. Fourth, interdisciplinary orientation. Interdisciplinary orientation. Search for universal theory. Search for universal theory, concepts and formulas. Search for universal theory, concepts and formulas. Next, emphasis on empiricism. Empiricism. What are the differences? What are the differences from modern organizational theories? First, its focus on comparative perspective. Its focus on comparative public administration theories focus on comparative perspective. Second, its focus on cultural diversity. And third, its fascination with Weberian bureaucracies. Right? This is what Waldo has said. The similarities and differences between modern organizational theory and comparative public administration. That is what we have discussed. If you go back to our discussions about comparative public administration, it is based on behavioralism, but it also goes beyond behavioralism. When Simon spoke about behavioralism, he was only talking about what happens within the organizations. And Simon was decidedly critical of Max Weber's bureaucratic theory and classical principles. And Simon was talking about dynamics of human behavior only within organizations. He was adopting what is called non-ecological approach. And he was observing the dynamics of human behavior within organizations. That is what we said, empiricism. Right? He was not making any dogmatic assumptions about human behavior like classical thinkers. Classical thinkers have assumed that people always behave rationally. On the other hand, Simon, through his experiments and through his scientific research, concluded that there are three different kinds of people in organizations: economic man, social man, and administrative man. And he said that for organizations to maximize efficiency in the long term, all the decisions should be taken only on the basis of rationality. Right? That is what Simon has said as part of modern organizational theories, which are behavioral. And this behavioral is based on empiricism. Right? Is this what we have discussed? Yes? Please remember, this is the entire crux of public administration. Every year, lots of questions will be asked only from this topic, nothing else. That is the reason why I am repeating all of them. Right? What is the difference between classical and Simon and CPA? What is the difference between classical and Simon? Yes. What is the difference? Normative and empirical. Classical thinkers made normative assumptions about human behavior. Right? They said that human beings always behave rationally. In the process, they converted human beings into machines. This was rejected by Simon. He said that human behavior should be observed. We cannot make any assumptions about human behavior. Whatever the analysis and assumptions that we make about human behavior should be on the basis of empiricism. That is what he said. Classical thinkers, what did they do? They never really bothered to observe the dynamics of human behavior in reality. That is what we call phenomenological approach. They made assumptions and they had come out with their theories. That is the reason why they were a failure. And on the basis of those assumptions, they came out with the principles of organization. That is the reason why they are a failure. And Simon has said that he would adopt behavioral approach, wherein he would observe the dynamics of human behavior over a period of time in real life situations. On the basis of that, he would come out with his theory. And he had observed and he had come to the conclusion that we find there are three different kinds of people in organizations. And he said that if organizations have to maximize efficiency in the long term, what is required is that complete rationality on the part of on the part of a people working in our nation. He said that social man can never make completely rational decisions. Economic man can make. Administrative man is capable but is not being allowed to take completely rational decisions because of various reasons. And what is common between classical and behavioral thinkers here? Both of them adopted only closed systems approach. When Simon spoke about dynamics of human behavior, he was only talking about the dynamics of human behavior only within the organization, even though he spoke about influence of external factors, but he did not take into consideration those external factors. And that is the reason why Simon's theory was also ethnocentric in approach. He did not take into consideration the impact of culture, environment on dynamics of human behavior. That is where the problem is. And this is where comparative public administration thinkers went beyond Simon. What did comparative public administration thinkers say? We will also adopt behavioralism like modern organizational theories, but we will go beyond behavioralism. We will look at the dynamics of human behavior, not only what happens within the organization, but also outside the organizations. Why? Because culture always impacts behavior. Culture of any society or any country always impacts the dynamics of human behavior. That is what comparative public administration thinkers have said. And on the basis of comparison of these cultures, they would like to come out with a universal theory. The same question that was asked this year also. But by taking into consideration culture, can you come out with ever universal theory? Is it? Obviously, no, because different parts of the same country have different cultures. As we studied all the time, in North India we have only agriculture. The only people in North India have is, only culture they have is agriculture. Right? Can you expect them to behave in a civilized manner? You know, it's very difficult to accept. But sometimes it is better to live in reality than hallucinating about dreams. Right? Right? If you happen to read today's newspaper, Indian Express, what are the things that are, deciding elections in Jharkhand of Uttar Pradesh? People talk about jobs, they talk about raising prices, but they vote in the name of caste. That is what we say. Right? That is the reason why both Samajwadi Party and BJP, they only talking about caste and religion. Do they talk about development, cognitions? No. On the other hand, in other parts of the country, the issues that really matters are different because ethnicity, culture. Right? And that is the reason why when you cannot have one single universal theory of administration for a small country like India, can you have a universal theory of public administration for all the 200 countries in the world by taking into consideration cultural aspects? Can you have? That is where the problem is. Right? So, when Waldo talks about the similarities between modern, yes. Yeah, they were also talking about human relations, but what is the difference here between behavioral and neoclassical thinkers? What did we say? You please tell me. What is the difference between neoclassical and behavioral thinkers? Both of them are talking about social psychological factors, but what is the difference? We have discussed all these things. Of course, we discussed in 1925, almost 100 years back, along with Elton Mayo. Elton Mayo. 100 years have gone, right? What is the difference we said? Yes. What is the difference we said between neoclassical and behavioral thinkers? Neoclassical thinkers spoke about social and psychological aspects, but the objective was to maximize profits for management. That is the reason why we called them theories of manipulation. subtle form of exploitation. Right? They were not talking about the dynamics of human behavior from the perspective of satisfaction of workers. That is the reason why we called them an extension of classical thinkers. Extension of classical thinkers. That's what we said. Neoclassical thinkers. Whereas it is only the behavioral thinkers who had given importance to dynamics of human behavior from the perspective of people. They analyzed the dynamics of human behavior from the perspective of people within the organizations. Right? That is what we said. See, these are the things which are very, very important. Conceptual clarity. Entire public administration about these things only. Classical perspective, neoclassical perspective, behavioral perspective, and comparative public administration perspective. Right? Now, what we have seen is the similarities between CPA and modern theories of organization, that is behavioral theories. We have seen the similarities. What are the similarities that we have mentioned here? What are the similarities? Both of them focused on coming up with universal theories and principles. Both of them focused on empiricism. That is what we have said. Both of them focused on methodological problems faced by organizations. And both of them gave importance to systems framework and structural functionalism. But what are the differences? Let us see. What are the differences between modern organizational theory and comparative public administration? What are the differences? First and foremost, comparative perspective. Did you write all these things? Yes. A comparative perspective. In modern organizational theory, it was again still restricted to Western societies, ethnicity. Right? That is what we said. That is what the criticism of the Friedrichs also. They were looking only from one particular cultural perspective. That is Western industrialized developed capitalist countries. Right? That is the reason why, for these behavioral thinkers, anything related to values becomes irrational. Please remember. Because in capitalism, the only value they cherish is profit maximization. Right? First one, as I said, is comparative perspective. Second one is cultural diversity. Modern theories of organization, they simply do not have any that kind of diversity. And the basic problem with comparative public administration is its fascination with Weberian bureaucracy. That is what we said, if you remember, when we criticized Friedrichs. One of the criticisms that we have made was, Rix was critical of classical thinkers, but he adopted only classical techniques. For example, how did Rix define development? He defined development as the process of transformation of a society from fused to prismatic and prismatic to diffracted. And what is the example he had given for a diffracted society? United States of America. Why it is a diffracted society? Because it has a diversity, integration, so on and so forth. Right? It has what we call Weberian bureaucracy. And how did he differentiate between a prismatic society and a diffracted society? In terms of formalism. In a prismatic society, we have so much of formalism. That is the difference between what is ideal and what is real. And what is the ideal given by Friedrichs? In the form of Weberian bureaucracy. Any deviation from the concept of rules and regulation is called formalism by Rix. Right? Is that what that we have said? Yes? And that is in way we criticize Rix, saying that Rix has completely ignored what? Ricks has completely ignored positive formalism of prismatic societies. Do you expect bureaucracy? Do you expect bureaucracy in prismatic societies to be completely value neutral and only focus on equality? Equality? No. What is required for bureaucracy in prismatic societies is equity than equality. This was ignored by Fredericks. That is what we said. That is the last point that we have mentioned here. Fascination with Weberian bureaucracies. On the other hand, please remember, Simon was critical of Weberian bureaucracy because of its emphasis on rationality. Right? So these are the things that differentiate between what we call modern organizational theory and comparative public administration. One is cultural specific, that is what we call non-ecological. Second one is comparison, which is not there at all in modern organizational theories. And finally, Weberian bureaucracies. Right? This is what the difference between, as I said, Dwight Waldo is a public administration historian. Why we are discussing Waldo towards the end? Because as part of Waldo, we are again completely revising the whole of public administration, gaining what we call conceptual clarity in the process. The difference between classical, neoclassical, behavioral and comparative approaches to the study of public administration. And what Waldo has said is that comparative public administration thinkers have failed, which we know. That is what you write. Comparative public administration movement was a failure because it did not come out with any universal theory. But it led to the emergence of development administration. Development administration also did not produce tangible results because of its Western orientation. Because of its Western orientation. Because of its Western orientation. Why? Because this development administration, as we have discussed, that had emerged in 1950s, looked at the development from the perspective of, again, Western countries. This Western bias is the reason for failure of both comparative public administration and development administration. What is the Western bias that we are talking about here? They define development only as economic growth in terms of GDP, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of industrialization, in terms of savings, in terms of investment. But what is more important is qualitative aspects of development. And that Waldo says has led to the emergence of NPA. The failure of, that is what you write, the failure of Western concept of development administration led to new public administration. New public administration. The failure of Western concept of development administration led to new public administration. NPA emphasized on participation, decentralization and representative bureaucracy. participation, representation, and decentralization, representative bureaucracy. I think we have discussed these things. Next, future of public administration according to Waldo. What is the future of public administration? First is the transition from industrial to post-industrial societies. Industrial to post-industrial societies. In post-industrial societies, knowledge becomes a critical factor in determining productivity and efficiency. A critical factor in determining productivity and efficiency of our nations. Public administration will have to deal with new forms of organization and management. New forms of organization and management. Waldo predicted that future organizations will be less bureaucratic, a mixture of public and private, more chains, complexes, CHAINS, chains, complexes, COMPLEXES, are systems of organization than unitary organizations. And more international and multinational in their operations. More multinational and international in their operations. They have to deal with ethical complexities, increasing likelihood of conflicts and crisis, ethical complexities, they have to deal with ethical complexities, and increasing likelihood of conflicts and crisis. Public administration must involve itself in change and transformation. Change and transformation. The decisions of public administrators will be a combination of policy judgments, Please remember, all of them were asked in your ethics paper. As I keep on saying, will be a combination of policy judgments, instrumental judgments, legal judgments, and moral judgments. Legal judgments and moral judgments. Public administration discipline will be characterized by philosophical, interdisciplinary and methodological pluralism. Methodological pluralism. Right. So this is what Waldo has predicted about the future of the discipline of public administration. That is what we have discussed also. What we have said is that these simple hierarchical organizations, vertical hierarchies, will be replaced with complex organizations which are less bureaucratic, less hierarchical in nature. And then what is the problem then? As we discussed, with multi-actor paradigm, administration becomes much more complex and complicated. You have to deal with what we call flat hierarchies, with so many actors involved in governance. And we have moved towards knowledge-based societies. And that is where public administrators have to make so many judgments, policy judgments, as we have discussed. What kind of policies they have to adopt? Instrument judgments. What are the instruments that they have to follow to realize the objectives of policies? Legal judgments and moral judgments. As we have discussed, if you remember, textual analysis, political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal implications of their actions. Administration is becoming much more complicated and complex. It is not like what we say black and white. That is what we study in our ethics paper also. Ethical complexities will make administration much more complicated. Why? Because on the one hand, to remove poverty, you must utilize natural resources. But any exploitation of natural resources would automatically result in environmental degradation. So how to ensure balance between satisfying the current needs of the people and the interests of future generations? You have to make ethical judgments. Similarly, what kind of instruments you have to follow to implement the policies? Should you still continue with the centralized top-down approach? Should you have multi-actor paradigm? But if you are following multi-actor paradigm, it can result in complete anarchy also. Is it possible for you to ensure integration in policies through multi-actor paradigm? What is integration? What is integration? Creating a win-win situation. For example, take the case of private sector, which is only interested in profit maximization, and the green NGOs, which are only interested in protecting the ecological systems, and political executive, which is only interested in winning elections, and bureaucracy, which is only interested in retaining its power. Can you have an integrated solution to all these problems? That is what Dwight Waldo has said. It is very easy to talk about public-private partnerships. It is very easy to, come out as a solution in the form of public-private people panchayat partnerships. But how to put them into practice? That would be the concern of the discipline of public administration going into the future. Because no longer we have vertical hierarchies. On the other hand, what we have is self-governing independent networks, as the questions that have been asked this year repeatedly. Right? And all those networks have their own vested interests. Is it possible for them to compromise with some of their interests and work in a collective manner with the rest of the society? And this is where a major challenge as far as administration is concerned. Because during the earlier times, it was a linear administration. with emphasis on centralization and top-down approach, which no longer exists. On the other hand, if you still follow dictatorial approach to administration, what happens? Like a classical approach, centralized top-down approach, then it will again be a failure. That is what we have seen here. The best example is farm bills. That is what the government has followed, imposing decisions on stakeholders without involving them. And what happened? The government was forced to go back on the much needed reforms. Why there is so much of opposition to globalization and industrialization, infrastructure development? Why? Because the governments still follow all around the world a classical approach, centralized top-down approach. And that's the reason why bringing about changes, transformation becomes much more difficult, because you are not involving the stakeholders. But the problem is that if you involve the stakeholders, is it possible for you to achieve integration? That is where we have to find a solution, because this raises ethical concerns. Should you be treating people as subjects to be governed, impose the decisions, and make sure that only they receive the benefits without involving them in policy formulation or implementation, like what we have done as part of welfareist approach? Right? That is where the ethical concerns. On the other hand, can you give complete freedom? For example, go to the villages and ask them whether they want this particular industry or not, particular infrastructure project or not. And what happens? They would come under the influence of NGOs and media, and they would reject it. That is why we said old localism was a failure. If you remember, we have discussed these things in Indian administration. And that is the reason why we are talking about new localism. And what is the problem with new localism? Again, it results in centralization of power. That is what Dwight Waldo has said. The discipline of public administration at this point of time is facing so many challenges, because not one approach can be considered the best approach to provide solutions to the problems of public administration. If you think that we can give freedom to the people, but again, freedom we can give to them only when they are in a position to utilize the freedom in a more constructive manner. Freedom without responsibilities. And that is what our Prime Minister has said. For so long we have spoken about the rights of citizens. Now we have to talk about the duties also. But if we are talking about duties of citizens, that means you are treating people as subjects to be governed. So where do we find common ground here? And how to come out with integration? That is what the Third Minnebrook Conference also has said. He defined public administration as a socially embedded process of collective relationships, dialogues, and action with the objective of human flourishment for all. And that is where it becomes much more difficult. Right? And what is the solution? The solution has to be found through phenomenological approach. Look into the real life situation, include values, come out with solutions depending on specific culture and settings. You cannot have one size fits all approach, which is always going to be a failure. Depending on the situation, you have to change. You have to amend, change yourself. That is why we said, what we have said as part of development administration is, what did we say as part of development administration? How to ensure success towards the end of development administration? We have spoken about that. Grafting is better than transplantation. Right? Yes? Did we talk about this? Yes, because you're looking at me as if again. So this is what we say the entire essence of public administration, right from its inception in 7 till 2022. How to govern these self-sufficient independent networks, how to integrate them in administration, come out with uniform policies, ensure their effective implementation is what the major problem dominating public administration. Why? Because we have moved away from vertical hierarchies of classical perspective to horizontal hierarchies. That is where the problem with multi-actor paradigm. So this is all about public administration and also about Dwight Waldo. Let us look at the criticism of Waldo. No comments. No comments. Can you give me any example of success of achieving consensus? You can give the example of this, vaccination program, which is highly successful in India. Look at, Canada or America. There are long protests. What is the latest news? Canadian president was taken to a secret location by their security forces to protect him from the agitators who are strongly opposing vaccination program. Right? Whereas in India, in spite of the fact that we are a prismatic society, we have vaccinated 95% of our people. Right? That is where we have achieved success. You can give the example of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, wherein we have spoken about behavioral changes. There are definitely successes of the vaccination program, because we have achieved this success with the help of active consent and participation by all stakeholders. The same approach we have to follow for development administration also. You can give both these examples, right? On the other hand, the so-called diffracted societies are facing so many problems. Even America, even now also, on an average around 2,500 people are dying. Still people are not willing to take vaccines. In most of these Western countries, there are agitations on the streets against lockdown. They say that we are independent, we don't mind dying of corona, but we will not sit at home. They give a lot of importance to their freedom. Right? That is where. So let us see the criticism of Waldo. Waldo was criticized as a historian of public administration than a creative thinker. He was criticized as a historian of public administration than a creative thinker. He was basically, giving us the chronology of public administration than contributing anything new. He was also criticized for his ambivalence on major issues. Ambivalent, ambiguity on major issues. For example, he said that public administration must essentially involve politics. But at the same time also recognizes the significance of politics administration dichotomy. Politics administration dichotomy. He emphasizes that public administration is both art as well as science. But fails to specify which is more prominent between them. He also, next point, he also gave importance to both democracy and bureaucracy. but did not explain how to resolve conflicts between them. Right? These are all the criticisms of Wilde. Right? That is what the criticism. I think these are all straightforward ones. He said that public administration is both art and science, but which one he prefers the most, he did not say. He said that politics administration dichotomy should be there and on one time, and another time he says that administration should always deal with politics. So these are all, that means he was not consistent with his ideas, clear. So this is what about it White Waldo, and this is more than enough for the entire history of public administration. So whatever we have discussed and whatever you have written, please make sure that you are able to remember everything with clarity. That's why I said we will do Waldo towards the end, because he was basically a public administration historian writing about how the discipline has evolved since its inception to the present. And he was definitely able to predict the problems, because he died in 2000, but whatever he had predicted in 2000 was is applicable even now also, wherein he spoke about the knowledge-based systems, wherein he spoke about flat hierarchies and ethical concerns, right? Methodological pluralism. So this is what we have to say about the whole of public administration. And for those who have been attending classes from 18th of October, we have finally completed the entire syllabus, right? You are waiting for this only from 18th of October, right? Right, we have finally completed. And those who are attending online, there was some problem in the previous class. I know. Right? Again, you are watching again? Huh? Okay. I know. That is the reason why even before someone messages, I have already written there. What I will be doing is that they have missed out on public-private partnerships, the most important topic. Because we are not restricting ourselves only to 3P, but what is important for us is 6P. So we must motivate them for 6P. So I will be taking special class, and the class I will take most probably this week only. It will be online only, and the link will also be shared in the group, so that those who have missed, again they can attend. Even you people also can attend public-private partnerships. And then that is what, and what you have to do, especially those who have finished their classes, what you have to do from now onwards. First and foremost, you can sleep in the morning, right? The first and foremost, most desirable outcome is you can sleep in the morning. But unfortunately, our classes were in deep winter, right? So in that sense, it was neither win nor loss kind of situation. Once you move on to summer, normally even you people also normally get up. In summers you don't sleep, right? In summers even you people also get up by around 1 o'clock. Get up by around 1 o'clock early in the afternoon, 1 p.m. Right? That is what you will be doing. So in that sense, it will not be much of a help for you, right? And what you have to do is that, especially those who are writing prelims this year, you can focus on paper 2, because in paper 2, most of the topics are there in your general studies also. So polity and economy, all of them are there. So you can focus on paper 2, and you can focus on answer writing. Answer writing is also very important. You can focus on answer writing, because If you are thinking about mains this year, it is better at least till the end of March you can focus on answer writing, right? April and May you can completely devote only for prelims, only for prelims. Otherwise, till the end of March you can focus on answer writing next 2 months, right? And what you can do is that you can go through the discussions of the previous year's question papers, which I have done at least for paper 2. All of them are there in our Telegram group or in our YouTube channel also. Previous year's discussions, last 2-3 years are there. And on the basis of that, you can write answers. And I will be here only, anytime you can come and you can always show me your answers. Anytime you can come, right? Anytime means, I'm a normal human being who sleeps in the night, unlike you people, right? Who are busy with your cultural activities, right? So anytime means normal working hours of average normal human being that Frederick Taylor had spoken about. Frederick Taylor had taken into consideration average normal human being for conducting experiments, right? That is what we have said. So I am also like that only. You can say below average also. I say that I am above God, but below average, right? Unlike you people who are extremely intelligent and creative and so on and so forth, right? So you can always, fix appointment and then come. All of you have the number of office, right? You can take appointment and then you can come. You can show me your answers. All of you can show your answers. And as I mentioned, over the next Feb, March, April, and May, these 4 months, I will also be taking these free classes on an academy platform. This month, most of the classes will be about the mains only. Of course, prelims also, because tomorrow, I think today, economic survey will be presented. So maybe, on 3rd and 4th, we will do economic survey and budget, right? And most probably time will be 11:30 to 1:30, 2 hours each, 4 hours, right? And then this month we will also be doing rest of the questions of this year main examination. Public administration we have done only section A of paper 1 and section A of Indian administration. So we will be completing rest of the questions also. Again, that we will be doing this month. I will also take up these Indian economy general studies questions of this year's GS papers. I will also try to do social issues as well as this internal security and disaster management questions, right? And next month onwards, as part of special classes, March, April, and May, these 3 months I will be taking at least 15 hours each in all these 3 months, wherein I will be doing one polity, the Indian polity of your general studies prelims. I will be taking up economy, and I will be doing current affairs, international relations, and all other things. What you can be sure of is that whatever we do should be more than sufficient for your prelims examination, because these are the things where you can be certain about answers. Polity, what is the answer. In international relations, mostly facts-based ones, and the government programs. As I said, our Prime Minister comes out with one program a day. He cannot sleep without coming out with one program a day. Nobody is bothered about them. That is the reason why he will take revenge on you people, UPSC aspirants, right? That is the reason why you have to be thorough with all those programs. I will be doing all those programs which can be useful for your main exams also. What are the classes I am taking? They will be useful for both the prelims and mains. And the links of those classes will be there in our Telegram group. You keep on following them, and of course, all the newspaper articles also you can go through. WhatsApp group, why you are not in Telegram? The crowd, if you say 2000 people is crowd, what about 140 crores? That is the reason why you criticize me when I talk about UP and Bihar, but you are talking about crowd, right? So don't worry, but again, if I've asked them to put, I think all of you have a WhatsApp group also. I've asked them to put in a WhatsApp group also, no problem. But Telegram group, just follow them for the newspaper articles which I am putting, right? So this is what, and if you have any doubts, you can ask, and you can have refreshments also. Now, whatever it be, they got it. Whatever they got it, you will not have any 5-star buffet lunch here, right? Right? So, why? So, in between, you can ask any questions related to your preparation. Yes. Any other questions that you have, you can ask. Pani with Pavan. Right? I will be drinking water, and you will have all those refreshments. Right? So, as I said, those who are writing prelims, in fact, this month itself, I will take up one special class also on prelims, especially what you have to do from now. Right? We will be doing all those things. How many of you are seriously writing prelims this year? Seriously? All of you are serious? Right, but why are you laughing then? Both of them do not go together, I think. Serious? Very good. What have you completed in your prelims preparation till now? Till now, what have you completed as part of your prelims preparation? What are things that you have completed, and what are things that you have to do? Pardon? Subject-wise. I am not talking about Pakistan Public Service Commission. So, UPSC only. Yes. What have we completed till now? Because we have reached the month of February. When did you start your preparation? When? How many of you have started preparation only in June? Or, and how many of you have started studying since the beginning of Kautilyan Empire? Yes. Kautilyan Empire, very good. Very good. Okay, very good. And how many of you have started with your preparation in the Chalcolithic age? Before Kautilya? Yes. Anyway, I will not ask those uncomfortable questions. Right? But as I said, prelims at the end of the day is always going to be a dicey issue. It is always better to prepare more than less for prelims. But again, identifying your areas of strength is the most important thing, as we discussed in one of our prelims preparation classes. What are the strengths and what are your weaknesses? That is very important. And then you have to focus on those strengths. Right? And make sure that you are thorough with polity, economy, international relations, then indices, global indices, then you are also thorough with these Indian geography, environment. World geography, it is difficult for you, right? Very vast. So you have to reduce uncertainty. That is very, very important. Uncertainty, because at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, prelims is an examination that is full of uncertainty. That is what you have to remember. It is full of uncertainty. And don't be too ambitious with the prelims, because you are not here to write all answer all 100 questions. The major mistake committed by students is that they become over ambitious, like Fredericks, coming out with a universal theory with improbable assumptions. You are not preparing for 100 questions, right? That is what you have to be clear. You are only looking at around 80 questions, maximum 80, and not more than that. That is what you have to remember. And those 80 questions, the focus is on getting 90% of the question that you are writing, that you are attempting as correct. That is very, very important. So then another thing that it is better to practice a lot for prelims. And practicing, as I said, only UPSC questions. Don't try to practice unnecessarily the questions given in test series. As I said, what you can do is buy all those test series from Xerox shops, give it to your friends, so that ethics, equity, participation, everything, more importantly efficiency, they will never clear. You are reducing competition. So don't unnecessarily talk too much about or think too much about the test series. Not even a single question will be asked. Polity, just do only UPSC questions of last 30 years. Last 30 years means from 1992, take all the polity questions. Every year, you have at least 15-20 questions from polity. 30 years, you have question bank of around 450 questions, 500 questions. And make sure that you are doing all of them, right? That is what you have to think about. Same is the case, with the geography or anything else. Because UPSC always asks relevant questions. That is what you have to remember. In the coaching institutes, they unnecessarily give mostly questions to test their own knowledge. Right? They will give you article 14.1. They will replace and with if. And then they will say that what is the answer. So not required. That is not at all required. So don't unnecessarily depend too much on you always have faith in more your own preparation and focus on newspapers. They always are very, very important. They are always very, very important. And then whether it is optional or general studies, answer writing becomes very important because you don't get much time. After prelims, you have only, prelims is on 2nd June, 5th June, and the mains on September, 16th of September. That means how many months? June, July, then July 5th, 1 month, August 5th, 1 month, September 5th, 1 month. 3 months, right? Maximum 3.5 months. So it becomes difficult. So you have to keep on writing answers. And another question that people keep on asking me is that current affairs newspapers till what date they should be reading newspapers. There is no date as such. Tomorrow the prelims examination. Today also read your newspaper. So don't leave newspaper reading. Every day you can afford to spend 1 hour for newspaper reading. So don't leave at all newspaper reading. Because if you stop reading newspapers in say 1 or 2 months before prelims, then after prelims you don't get them time for you to revise all of them. Read at least 2 newspapers. As I said, Hindu and Indian Express. Nowadays Indian Express has made most of these articles paid articles, right? But all of them are there in the newspapers. All of them are there in the newspapers. So take the newspaper and read relevant articles. Very important, because if you look at the main examination, almost all the questions are from the prelims and mains, that gap between 3 months. All the questions are from that only. That is where, you cannot afford to stop reading newspapers. Even then also in the prelims also, in spite of all the uncertainty, you can see that most of the questions are, at least current affairs are asked from newspapers only. So make sure that you are, continuing this good habit of reading newspapers. That is very, very important. Right? And any other questions you have, you can ask. Prelims test series. I will not do any prelims test series. That's what I always tell the students, because that will be deceiving students. In the main test series, I can do it because I know what kind of questions are asked, and I also know that what are the questions I give will be asked in the examination. In the prelims test series, nobody can predict. If I am doing any prelims test series, means I am only doing injustice to students, unnecessarily guiding them in a wrong direction. So I will not do any prelims test series. But as I said, I will try to cover all these topics, at least in polity, economy, and current affairs. Leaving science and technology, rest of all other current affairs I will be doing, because in the month of March, April, and May, 3 months means 3 into 15. 3 into 15 is 3 fives are 15, right? 3 into 15, 45 hours will be more than enough for all these things. I will be, helping you prelims in that perspective, right? Otherwise, as I said, please only go through UPSC previous year's questions for your prelims preparation. And of course, the most important part of your preparation for prelims is praying to God. At least every day, spend at least 4 or 5 hours only in praying to God. And as I said, gods can be crazy also. So you pray to all gods, secularism. You don't know who will come to your rescue. Already Hindu religion has 33 million gods. God's population is like a population of our people only. So, but still, I would prefer you to pray to all other gods also, because you don't know who will come to your rescue. So at least every day, progressively increase your preparation time. Initially start with 1 or 2 hours. By the time you go to the examination, one day before, 24 hours only you are praying to God. Right? Then you will definitely clear. Right? That is what I said. In the first year of your preparation, you think that everything is in your hands. You are a completely rational human being, thinking that your future is there in your hands. If you work hard, you will definitely clear the examination. After first year of writing prelims, you will realize that what is there in your hand is only your hand. And nothing else. So then you start changing your mode of preparation. Right? By the time final attempt comes, you only pray to God. And you will easily clear also. So it is better to be rational by having faith in God than being irrational in the name of rationality. Right? So that is it. You can have your snacks that are given to you. And if you still have any questions, you can ask. Pardon? I will not. I just had my breakfast, so I don't eat. Because I eat mostly non-vegetarian food. Your brains only. Right? Rest of the things I am not that much interested. Right? Rest of the things are not as tastier as your brains. Of course, I will be going hungry also because you don't have any. That is what. So you can have it. I don't eat all these things because I don't eat sweets because I'm too sweet. I don't eat hot because exactly. So that is where the problem is. And one more negative quality is that I eat only when I'm hungry. When I'm hungry, I eat everything. So that is the thing. You can have it. You can have it, and in the meantime, you can also ask questions. You can have it, and you can also ask questions. Yes, you can start. How can I? See, don't worry about all the things. If you all the things, if you think that you have to eat only when I am eating, then you will become like a Bangladeshi immigrants, impoverished citizens. Don't worry, right? Impoverished, right? You can have. And any other doubts you have, you can ask. Any other doubts you have about your preparation, you can ask. I think most of them are not attending classes also. All of them are, most of them went back to their homes also, thanks to Corona. Right? Let us hope that all of them are following our classes online. I don't know how many of them are watching online. Are they watching? I don't know. Huh? It is, if you open it one time, one view. Second time you open it, second view. So, right, you open it 10 times and 10 views. Right? So, that is it. Anyway, let's hope that everyone is watching because they are important. As I said, whatever we discuss in the class is more important than what you see in the notes. That is very, very important. That's the reason why classes are very important. And any other doubts you have, you can ask about your preparation or anything. Anything under the sun. This is like a 0 hour. 0 hour in Parliament. Any questions can be asked. 0 hour. Yes. You can have it, why are you looking at my face all the time? Huh? Essay preparation. I will be doing 1 or 2 essays also. I will take one special class on essay. On how to write essays. I will tell you, no problem. The problem is that when I do all these things, after getting into services also, they want these kind of services from me. Yesterday, this foundation course training is going on right now in Hyderabad. I said Mari Chenna Reddy Institute of Public Administration. It has started last week. So one student called me yesterday. He said that, sir, we have to write an essay as part of our foundation by tomorrow. Can you tell us what to write in essay? After getting into services also, what is this kind of exploitation? I can never understand. Right? First, अभी नहीं बाद में दे दे पिंकू पहले तो खाने दो राइट नहीं नहीं मुझे नहीं आई डोंट ईट टी आई विल टेक इट लॉट नाउ नहीं 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 मुझे नहीं बाद में दे I said it is Pani with Pavan, not Chai with Pavan. It is not Chai pe Chacha, right? For that you can go to, yes. Okay. See, it depends. First, the number of attempts that you have, right? As 2 things you have to take into consideration: number of attempts you have and your age. Normally, you don't require more than 3 or 4 attempts. If you want, you can give the examination this year to have a feel of the UPSC examination, right? इनका पानी देना. They want water also, pani. Right. Yes. So you can give, depends. As I said, 2 things. One is your age. Second one is the number of attempts you have. For practice, if you want, you can give. Not a problem at all. Yes. First attempt, you have fear. Why should you have fear? UPSC should fear. Right? Right? Now, to overcome the fear, what you can do is you can give practice tests, sit at the same time. That is, what is the prelims examination morning? 9, 9 to 11. At least before you go to the examination, at least give 5, 6 practice tests so that you can overcome examination fear. Practice, as I always say, makes, you know what, right? So, so to overcome fear, what you can do is practice. Sit in the examination, like time. And one more thing, you can come and prepare here also. You can sit and prepare because the classroom will be there only, will be empty only. So you can always study here. Anytime you can come and study. Anytime means? Exactly, I said, night time, all other normal average human beings sleep. So during office hours, you can come and study here. Morning 10 to 5, morning, 10 to evening 5, 5 or 6, you can study here. That's not a problem at all. If you are finding those who are staying in Delhi, they can. And you don't have to fear, as I said, what happens? Nothing. If you try, at best, you will succeed. At worst, you will wait for success, nothing else. So never have any kind of fear. You should never have any kind of fear, whether it is in examination or in life. That is what. You need to be having that kind of courage of conviction. Have conviction in yourself that whatever you do, you can succeed. That is what is required. As I said, if Manmohan Singh can do PhD in economics, I can do in a postgraduate in economics. It means that economics is a very easy subject. Right? And if Nirmala Sitharaman can become finance minister, you can understand. So, why should you have any kind of fear? That is what important. Don't fear about any of the subjects. What is required? Develop a passion for learning new things. At the end of the day, it is all about common sense. Any subject that you study is all about common sense. If you can develop common sense, you will easily learn everything. Common sense basically means asking right kind of questions. Why it is, what it is, and what are the problems and what could be the solutions. If you can develop this kind of a thought process, you will easily succeed. Right? That is what. Any other questions? Pardon? See, obviously, to tell you the truth, preparation for prelims becomes a farce. Last year, the case was argued in Supreme Court. And what the government advocate had argued in Supreme Court is that students are demanding a postponement of prelims. He said that prelims examination does not require more than 1 month preparation. Right? He was wrong. It does not require even 1 day preparation also. Because what is required for prelims is only knowledge of ABCD. It is a fact, so there is nothing like going beyond books. Right? If you are talking about going beyond books, you should know what are the books also. But what are the books? Tell me, what are the books you have to study for geography? Right? Will they ever ask single question from NCERT? Then going beyond books means what? As I said, only you can reduce uncertainty by focusing on those topics in prelims wherein there is some kind of conventional questions, whether it is polity or economy. Rest of the things, there is nothing like a preparation. Rest of them, there is nothing like preparation. You know, you have to study whatever that you can. As I said, it's mostly about conceptual clarity. And some other questions, for example, the kind of question they have asked in history this year. I mean, it's ridiculous. Can anyone read those things from history? From history? So what you have to do is that you have to, reduce uncertainty. You have to reduce uncertainty by, focusing on those areas where you can, score good marks. That is where you have to do. Whatever, history, focus on modern history, because that is there in both prelims and mains. So if it is not coming to your rescue in the prelims, definitely it can help you in mains. And geography, those kind of things you don't know. In the mains also, they are not asking conventional questions. So as I said, that at the end of the day, you are not looking for all 100 questions. That is where you have to remember. Last year, in spite of all the uncertainty, they have asked at least 36 questions from polity and economy. Cutoff is only around 45, not even 45 marks, 44 questions. If you are getting 90% of them right, then you could have easily cleared the prelims also. Because the rest of the 65 questions you could have scored easily 10, 12 questions right. That's not a problem at all. So that is where you have to remember. Because UPSC is making prelims highly, highly unpredictable. So what I cannot say anything about going beyond books or anything like that. That's what you have to remember. Whatever you can read it and focus on, as I said, always government sources. Because UPSC will not move beyond government sources. Right? That is what you have to do. Anything? How can you analyze your preparation? You can analyze your preparation only by taking tests continuously. That is what is important. When I say tests, we are only talking about UPSC questions, previous year's UPSC questions. For mains also same thing, because take last 7 years question papers of ethics. Every question is repeated with the same spelling mistakes. Polity governance, every question is repeated. So that is what you have to remember.
April and May is sufficient for practicing prelims. April and May is sufficient for practicing prelims questions.
Which one?
April and May is sufficient.
Yeah, not April and May. You have to start your prelims from itself.
Practicing the questions.
Practicing questions, you do, as I said, for example, if you have done fundamental rights, then take up the questions on fundamental rights from previous years and do it. Every day, at least you can devote half an hour for questions. Don't wait for April and May. Right? Don't wait for it. And prelims, as I said, always identify where you can be doing well. If you are from science background, you can focus on science and technology or geography or environment, where you are more familiar with. Right? Anything else? Anything else? The question that you want to ask? And as and when you have any kind of doubts, you can always contact me. That's what I always say. End of our classes does not mean end of our association. 2023. Approach is the same. Only thing is that now you can focus more on your mains part. At least till October. Till October you can focus on mains part. Try to complete optional and some of the topics of your mains.
Why don't you start teaching history, geography also?
History, geography also. That's a very good question. Very good question. Simon. Simon is coming in the way. You know, I like history very much. History is one subject really I like. And unfortunately, the problem is that history teachers always teach history from a factual point of view. They never teach the essence or the interlinkages. That is where even geography also, it can be made more interesting. As I said, when you can relate it to real life events, everything can be made more interesting. But my knowledge of geography is same as your knowledge of geography. That is where problem is. And my knowledge of science and technology is less than your knowledge of science and technology. But good thing is that you don't have. Right? But again, when I took the examination, I got maximum marks in those days there were two papers. Second paper of general studies was about science and technology, geography and all these things. I got maximum marks there in that paper, in science and technology. Because I said I don't know anything about science and technology. It is fact, the fact here is that when you don't know anything, you will always write very simple answers. That is what, unfortunately, the more knowledge you gain, the more complicated you will be. The more knowledge you gain, the more complicated. That is the reason why if you look at public administration, whoever writes mains for the first time, they will score very good marks. They will score 250 marks, 260 marks. Next time onwards, they think that by studying only for 2 months, they score 250 marks. And they think that they have to study 20 more books. Then their score will come down from 250 to 180. Third time they thought that, the third time they think that they got only 180 marks because they read only 20 books. They read 40 books more. In the process, they become thinkers. Right? That is what I always say. If you can learn things from a simple perspective, you will always clear this examination. Very, very simplicity. The kind of answers you will be writing are so simple that even kindergarten students should be able to understand. Of course, they have more intelligence than you, so they can easily understand. That's a different thing. But that kind of simplicity is required. That is the reason why I think sometime back last year they have asked the essay also, simplicity the most sophisticated form. Not everyone can do the things in a simple manner. That is the reason why we say that it is very easy to make things complicated. But the most difficult thing in this world is to make things simple. Look at all the thinkers that you are reading. If you read Prasad and Prasad, or for that matter, if you read this Mohit Bhattacharya, you think that it is so complicated. Why? Because the language and the way they present the ideas. Because there is this what is called intellectual bias. The more you make the things complicated, the more you are called a thinker, an intellectual. That is where the problem is. And the secret of success in UPSC examination, when you are writing answers, whether it is optional or general studies, is to make things simple, and most importantly, your ability to look at any question from systems perspective by ensuring interlinkages. Everything is interlinked. If you can develop that a perspective of interlinkages, you'll be writing far better answers than others, because you'll be looking at the problem not only from the dimension it was asked, you'll be looking at from all other dimensions. In polity governance, you're bringing economic dimension, administrative dimension, cultural dimension. Obviously, your answer becomes multidimensional with interlinkages. That is what you have to develop. Yes. Yes, if you want, you can write the test. This is the time. As in when you want to write the test, we can have the test. Anytime you want, you can have the test. Right? Whenever you want, you can have the test. Nowadays, I said after that I'll be free only. I have only one class, so I can have all the tests and everything. As in when you want, you can tell me. We can have the test here. Those who are in Delhi, they can come and take the test. Those who are outside Delhi, they can skip the test. Right? We can have the test. That's not a problem at all. Right? Yes. Polity?
Can you check the questions of political?
Polity for what? Prelims. Prelims, I don't have to set, take UPSC. Mains I will do, mains I will do, all the papers I can do, that's not a problem at all. All the papers I can do, that's not a problem at all. Except history and geography, rest of the questions I can do, that's not a problem. Polity governance I will do. But again, I will be giving only our Indian administration questions. That is what the syllabus is. If you see all the questions that are asked this year in polity governance paper, and is there any single question which we have not discussed in our classes in Indian administration? So I can do those things, that's not a problem at all. Constitutional morality also we have discussed everything. Right? Yes, I will do those things. Polity, economy and all those things I will be doing it. That's not a problem at all. Any other doubts you have? And as I said, I think all of you have my number. Right? Those who are watching online, let them also have my number. Yeah. This is my number. I have only one number. I am just above NPL, so I cannot afford. Right? I have only one phone and one number. This is personal number, public number, professional number, anything you can say. This is a WhatsApp number, Telegram number. And is there anything else? And do we use our mobile for anything else? WhatsApp, Telegram, SMS, everything? Aadhaar. Very good. Right. I don't think you need my Aadhaar number. Right? Very good. Thank God. Right, you can always, any kind of doubts, you can always message me. And then, normally I don't see messages, you can always call me. You can call me and say that you have messaged me. Next time you can call me that, you have called me earlier to send a message. Right? So that is the thing, you can do all those things. Any kind of doubts, you can always call me. Evening time, mostly I will be free. You can call me. If I don't pick up the call, send a message and then again call. Again, repeat the process. Video call. What will you do? Are you not getting bored looking at my face all the time? Right? Are you not getting bored? If I were to be in your place, I would have boycotted classes long time back. Right? So don't worry. Audio call is enough. Right? And why do I want to see your faces again? I said, after 1 month itself, I got bored looking at your faces. And you sit at the same place also. You change your places also. Right? So there is no question. Right? That is the thing. Anything else you can ask? I think we have taken the photo. We can take today also. No problem. Yeah, it did not come. No problem. We can take. I think those who are attending online, they wanted these photos. Those who could not come to the class. So we can take the latest photo and we can give it to them. Right? Pardon? I think the other day some people did not come. Right? We can have a group photo and we can share it in the group. I don't know. I think. I think he has sent he has sent the photos. So all of them will be put, the previous photos and the present photos also will be put in the group. Don't worry. Right? You can ask him, he will take the photos. Yeah. Yeah. If you have anything to ask, you can ask. Yeah.
By making this arrangement,
Huh?
by making this arrangement, we are so happy because after getting suggested, every day we have to do like this
Yeah,
arrangement in the name of meeting.
that is what you have to do. Yes. Anyway, I think all of us have all of us have enjoyed our classes. I think. Yes. Yes. At least if you have not gained any knowledge, at least you have enjoyed. Right? Learning is always a good experience. What are they doing? Okay, there. Okay. You are not having it? You don't eat? Huh? Today is fast. Why? Okay. Fast track. Okay. Uh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. We for all you people online, just go to the office. They will tell you the formalities, and then any doubts also you can come here anytime. I'll clarify the doubts, and then as I said again, all of you can attend the classes in June at all also. That facility is also there. And one more thing is that you can attend Paper 1 classes also online. You'll be given that facility also. Not only Paper 2, Paper 1 also. That also is given. It will be there for 3 months, right? All those will. You just give your names there in the office. They will do the formalities, right? Yes. June, we will see, because June is very long. Just now I finished the batch. Again, you want me to talk about next batch? That is not good, right? You don't want to me to be happy. Yes, come. Yes. पिंकू पवन जी को बोलेंगे ना